Please, let's sit properly, guys. You gotta be serious. Thank you for the 5 minutes now that I talk. Anyways, so I have to be there. I have to pick up the pizza by 1:30 to get there on time. I will not take too much of your time, guys. Everybody, I'm sure when you were children, or maybe even now, watching Dr. Meadows. You remember that, Dr. Meadows days? So they created a time machine. That Snooki or whatever his name was, I don't remember. Snooki Shapiro. Who was the other guy? No, that's Dr. Meadows. But there were two brothers, Snooki and Shimshi. I don't remember, whatever his name was. Anyway, so gets into the time machine, he goes back, and whatever, somehow he has no gas, there's a leak in the gas tank, and then he wakes up that he came back. Because I used to listen to it with my kids, When I was a child, these things didn't exist. But anyways, honestly, the concept of a time machine is a nonsense. But the truth is, in a certain sense, we have time machine. Not that you go back and you become younger, but we're able to actually fix our past. I'm not even talking about as far as Judaism goes. We're going to get to that very soon. But sometimes, let's say children went through a hard time. They went through traumas, God forbid. They lost a parent, God forbid, or something. And that this trauma, they can't continue, go further. So when you get really good therapists, there's actually some type of therapy called hypnotherapy. I think they call it NPL. So if the child actually trusts the therapist, you could actually go back in his brain and see where exactly, that trauma is. And through therapy, they pull it out. And actually it doesn't have those setbacks anymore. Now, this is not a concept of a time machine, but the idea is that you could go back and fix the past. We are never victims to the past. And if you talk about politics a little bit, thank God Jews, they were never victims. We went through Babylonia, we came out, we built the second Beit HaMikdash, right? Then the second Beit HaMikdash got destroyed. The Jews went and we never go after Holocaust. Thank God we're thriving in Israel. There's no such thing. Oh, you guys did so much bad to us. We're victims. That's it. Our future is ruined because of our past. We don't believe that. And I'm saying it's unfortunate. They could quote me on this because it's already on the radio too. You know how the Democrats keep the black people? Oh, the whites did so much bad to you. They did terrible things to you. They owe you something. Come on. We don't go around saying Germans owe us this, Germans owe us that. It happened. We improved. We go ahead. But for political reasons, they put them all down. They're a bunch of victims. The whites owe you something. That's how they keep them for political reasons. Thank God Jews are past that. So I wanted to share with you actually the concept of fixing the past. This is what we do during these 10 days. Aseret Yemei Teshuva. It's called the 10 days of Teshuva. And the name actually defines what it is. We're supposed to look at our past, mistakes or wrong things or the sins that we did. Through Teshuva, we actually go back and it's completely erased. And why is it important to believe this? Many times we don't do Teshuva, or I do Teshuva, but I go back to the sin because the Yetzer Hara makes me crazy. God didn't really forgive you. You're a sinner. There's no hope for you. Why does the Yetzer Hara do that? Because if you feel that God didn't forgive you, there's no hope. You're going to continue sinning. These 10 days teaches us when we do Teshuva, whatever level, the past is completely gone. God loves you just like before you sin. Maybe even loves you more. As the Rambam says, because you tasted the sin, you know what the wrong thing is, but you're not going back to it. So remember, we are not victims of the past, we can go in the future. So I'm going to share with you actually a story of the Baal Shem Tov. I think I've said it in the shul. For some people it might be repetitious. For some people I'm sure it's something new. But it actually shows to what level Teshuva brings a person. And as you know, the Rambam says about Teshuva shouldn't think that is hated by God. And I'm not saying because I'm not sinners, but Teshuva also means to return. It doesn't only mean that you feel bad for a sin. Could be I didn't sin, but I'm returning closer to God. So the Rambam says, don't think that you're hated, but about Teshuva is close to God as if he never sinned. And actually, he's even higher than a tzaddik, somebody that was born religious. Because the guy that was born religious never really had challenges. So for him, it's easier to serve God. But somebody who did taste the sin and he holds himself back because he has to work harder, his level is higher and the reward is higher too. So going to the story of the Baal Shem Tov, one time the Baal Shem Tov came to daven Ma'ariv. He usually used to go to his place and daven. This time when he came, he went to a bookcase and he took a sefer out. Talmidim thinking, God has a halachic question. He's going to look it up. 1, 2, 3, he's going to daven Ma'ariv. It took him 45 minutes. And every few minutes, his face got more serious, more serious. After 45 minutes that he finished davening, he goes to the Amud and the Baal Shem Tov comes out to be the Chazan himself. Usually he was not the Chazan. And his Shmoneh Esrei took longer than usual. I always say that, we have a 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, right? Sometimes we put a race who's going to finish faster. It's not a race. Baal Shem Tov's Shmoneh wasn't 5 minutes. It was a long time. So could you imagine how long he davened that day? I really don't know. And then after he finished, he tells the students, let me tell you a story. Why I waited so much for the bookcase and why did my davening take so long? So he says, you know what? There was a Jew a few years ago, maybe many years ago, that he was raised up to the age of 13 by the community. Now, I want to tell you, we are really, thank God, blessed. In the secular world, education is free, basically, up to 12th grade. Even after that, colleges give you grants and things. Once upon a time, it wasn't like that. If you had money, you got education. If you had no money, no education. The state or the federal government didn't pay for it. Now, even when you're talking about religious schools, the government gives a little bit of a help. For each child, they give minimum money. Not like public school, everything is free. But really, we are blessed to be in such a generation. And then even sometimes people that don't have money to pay for it, we have, thank God, God has blessed us that we have so many rich people that some of them actually give donations to cover at least part of the tuition. So we're really blessed. We have something to thank God for. So Rabbi Shem Tov continues, this kid, up to age of 13, was raised by the community, then nobody took care of him. Unfortunately, he joined the gangs. Jews are the best in everything. Best doctors are Jews, best bankers are Jews. But they could go to the wars too. Communism was started by Jews, right? So if he becomes a gang member, he can't be follower of the gang. He has to become the head of the gang. So this guy came out to be the head of the gangs. Now, Jews have a very special face. I'm not kidding. Every time I see a person, are you Jewish? He says, Rabbi, how did you know? I said, I can't tell from your face. I one time asked the guy, are you Jewish? So the guy didn't want to bench on Lulav. So it says, Rabbi, that's the way Hitler started. And another guy says, are you Jewish? I'm a Palestinian, free Palestine. But again, usually I'm right. Usually when I see a Jewish guy, that was in Pierce College, I could say that he's Jewish because there's something in the face. I'm sure you agree too, right? These guys look terribly Jewish. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. That's it. You see, he can tell that too. But he's a Mexican Jew. But thanks for the comment. But anyways, guys, going further, this guy did so many wrong things, Baal Shem Tov says, that he couldn't see that he's Jewish at all. He looked like a gang guy, But he also felt bad to live in the ghetto. So he decided, you know what, I'm not going to live in the Jewish ghetto. I'm going to get out, live with the rest of the people. And he never came to the Jewish ghetto anymore, very, very rarely. One day before Rosh Hashanah, he had to come to the Jewish ghetto to get something. So he sees these Jewish guys running around, and he says, where are you rushing to? So one of them says, us Jews, our holiday starting, Rosh Hashanah is coming. Usually we don't go to daven with a minyan, we're very busy. But because it's days of slichot, and really days of judgment are coming, we're rushing to get a minyan in the synagogue to pray with the minyan. So when this guy said, us Jews, it hit him something in his head. What do you mean, us Jews? I'm a Jew too. You know what I'm saying? Even the most reformed Jew could tell him whatever wrong thing he does, but tell him you're not Jewish. He's going to get a funny me. Just because I'm reformed, I'm not Jewish, I'm Jewish. This is something no Jew wants to give up. Even Holocaust survivors that are angry at God, they say, where was God all the times of Holocaust? They never deny that they're Jewish. It's something that we cannot deny. Stays very rarely, I'm saying, somebody denies that he's not Jewish. But anyway, so this guy, suddenly he's what do you call it, spark. Turns out, he said, I'm Jewish too. What the heck did I do to myself? Was he really upset? And he forgot why he came to the city. So the Baal Shem Tov continues. He's walking around and he sees a synagogue in front of him. He walks into the synagogue, something pulls him in, but he's embarrassed to go stand with the men and pray. So where does he go? Second floor to the ladies section, right? Thank God no ladies come to the synagogue during the week. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to go hide there. So he goes behind the curtains and he hides himself and he's waiting till Ma'ariv is over. Once they go out and they lock the door, he comes downstairs, opens the ark, the Heichal, and he's really crying. He's really sorry for whatever wrong things that he did. And saying, Hashem knew whatever he knew, whatever words he knew. From Ma'ariv, he said it by heart, and then he passed out. He didn't die, he just passed out because he was really crying, he had no energy. So then the Baal Shem Tov says, the whole 45 minutes I was waiting for him to finish his vidui, his confession. I want to tell you that his prayers broke all the barriers in heaven. They went straight to God. I was waiting for his prayers to finish, so mine should be the first one, following his. Now I'm going to ask you guys, I want your opinion. If his sins were not forgiven, do you think his prayers would go break the barriers? Again, I'm not a big rabbi, I don't know. But my, whatever, lack of knowledge, I don't think as sinners' prayers, if he didn't really do repentance and the sin's still there, it wouldn't go and break all the barriers. But from this story, we see Baal Shem Tov to such an extent. Don't bother. 5 minutes, just don't bother. Thank you. I was a teacher for 8 years. I almost see everything, especially with my glasses, I have 4 eyes. Sometimes I see from my back too, in my dreams. But anyways, we see that actually Baal Shem Tov wanted his prayers to follow his. It shows that really Teshuva is a time machine. And if you guys happens to be that you meet another Jewish person that is not as close, or let's say a new student that comes from a Baal Teshuva family, seems to be a little bit strange maybe, but he's not really strange, you might judge him as a strange person. Getting closer to God, this is the greatest pleasure after you're learning, maybe even more important than you're learning. When you bring somebody else closer to God, it's the greatest pleasure that God gives. You guys have another minute or no?
Of course.
You sure? What time do you have to eat?
Don't worry about it.
No,